The massive space station Concordia hung against the backdrop of stars like a silver medallion. Inside its central dome, representatives from 200 alien civilizations filled the curved rows of seats. The air felt tense. This was not a regular meeting of the Galactic Council, but an emergency session called with barely 12 hours' notice. Ambassador Krell of the Varaxian Empire stood at the central podium. His gray skin glistened under the lights, and the ridge of spines along his head rose slightly, a sign of excitement that few non-Varaxians could recognize. Honored representatives, Krell began, his translator converting his clicking speech into standard galactic common. I thank you for answering this urgent call. The matter we face cannot wait for our next scheduled gathering. Chairperson Zaranine, a tall, willowy being with 4 arms and luminescent skin, surveyed the chamber. Before we begin, I must note that Earth's representative is not present. Protocol requires all affected parties be in attendance for emergency votes. Krell waved a dismissive hand. My office received confirmation that Ambassador Miller's shuttle experienced technical difficulties. Rather convenient, wouldn't you say? But the issues we must discuss cannot be delayed by human tardiness. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Several delegates nodded in agreement. 47 levels below the council chamber, Lisa Gardner rushed through the crowded diplomatic sector of Concordia. Her Earth Embassy uniform allowed her to move past security checkpoints with minimal delay. Her heart pounded as she dodged between tall Arcturians and hovering Medusan diplomats. Lisa had worked as an aide to Ambassador John Miller for only 6 months. This was her first off-world posting after graduating from diplomatic services. Nothing in her training had prepared her for what she had just discovered. She reached the embassy's secure communication center and pressed her palm against the scanner. The door slid open. "Greg, I need emergency access to the ambassador's shuttle," she said to the communications officer. Greg looked up from his console, surprised. "Lisa, you know I can't." The Varaxians called the emergency session. They're voting on whether to eliminate humanity. The whole thing is a setup, Lisa said, struggling to keep her voice steady. Greg's eyes widened. He turned to his console and began typing rapidly. Meanwhile, Ambassador John Miller sat in his shuttle, growing increasingly frustrated. The vessel had been ready for departure, engines warming, when all systems suddenly failed. The pilot, Jack Peters, had been working on repairs for over an hour. "Anything?" Miller asked, his voice tense. Jack shook his head, wiping grease from his hands. "It's like something fried all our navigation circuits at once. Never seen anything like it." Miller checked the time display on his wrist unit. The session started 20 minutes ago. Without Earth's voice, they could pass anything. The communication panel chimed. Jack reached over and pressed the receive button. Lisa's face appeared on the screen. "Ambassador Miller, thank goodness. You need to know. The navigation failure wasn't an accident. The Varaxians called an emergency vote about Earth." Miller leaned forward. "What kind of vote?" "Sir, they're voting on whether humanity should be eliminated as a galactic threat." The shuttle fell silent. Jack stopped working on the panel and turned to stare at the screen. Miller took a deep breath. "Details, Lisa." Ambassador Krell presented the motion. "Several species are supporting it. They're blocking all our usual allies from speaking." Chairperson Zaranine seems reluctant, but is allowing the process to continue. "I need to get to that chamber," Miller said, "even if I have to spacewalk there." "There's another way," Lisa said. "Maintenance tunnels connect the diplomatic docking bays to the council level. They're not well monitored. I'm sending you the access codes now." As their communication ended in the council chamber, Ambassador Krell was just beginning to present his case against humanity. Holographic images appeared above the center of the room. Earth cities, military exercises, space colonies. "Fellow representatives," Krell said, I will now demonstrate why the species known as humans presents the greatest threat our peaceful galactic community has faced in 3,000 years. The council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Krell manipulated the controls on the podium. A three-dimensional image of Earth appeared, floating in the center of the room. It slowly rotated, then zoomed in to show cities, factories, and military bases. "Observe," said Krell. "Just 200 years ago, humans were using primitive combustion engines and had barely touched their own moon. Now they have spread to 3 star systems." The image changed to show human ships near distant planets. "No other species in our records has advanced so quickly," Krell continued. "Not even the ancient Draconians moved with such speed." From her position near the back of the chamber, Lisa Gardner slipped between alien diplomats, trying to remain unseen. She needed to gather as much information as possible to help Ambassador Miller. "The human penchant for violence is well documented," Krell said. The display showed historical footage of Earth wars. They fight among themselves constantly. What will happen when they bring this violence to the stars? Admiral Thsan of the Proxima Centauri Coalition stood. His blue skin contrasted with his silver uniform. "The Voraxian concerns are valid. Humans established colonies on the edges of our territory without proper consultation. They claim it was a misunderstanding of boundary markers, but I find that difficult to believe." Several council members nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, Ambassador Miller and Jack struggled through narrow maintenance tunnels. The passages were designed for the small robotic units that serviced Concordia systems, not for humans. These tunnels must have been built by creatures half our size, Jack complained as he squeezed past a junction box. Miller checked the small map Lisa had sent. 2 more levels up, then we cross to the eastern sector. "Ambassador, do you really think they would vote to eliminate Earth?" Jack asked, his voice echoing in the metal passage. Miller didn't answer immediately. "The Galactic Council has only called for species elimination 3 times in its 1,000-year history. Each time, the vote passed." Back in the council chamber, Krell had saved his most damaging evidence for last. The holographic display showed a laboratory on Earth. "Our intelligence sources discovered this facility 6 months ago," Krell said. "Humans are developing quantum displacement technology. This research could create weapons that ignore our standard defenses or worse, allow humans to bypass our detection systems entirely." Gasps and murmurs filled the chamber. Quantum displacement was theoretical for most civilizations. If humans had made progress in this area, it would upset the careful balance of power. Lisa carefully recorded everything with her small datapad. She had to get this information to Miller before the vote began. A large reptilian being rose from the middle section of the chamber. Ambassador Trock of the Saurian Collective rarely spoke at these meetings. "Chairperson," Trock said, his voice deep and rumbling, "the Voraxian evidence is compelling, but incomplete. Has anyone asked the humans about this research? Perhaps there are peaceful applications we haven't considered." Krell snorted. "Peaceful applications? From humans?" Lisa slipped out of the chamber and ran toward the maintenance access point, where she had directed Miller. Her communicator vibrated. She checked the message and smiled. A few allies were beginning to question the Voraxian narrative. In the tunnels, Miller and Jack reached a junction where the path split 3 ways. "Which way?" Jack asked. Miller checked the map again, but a section was missing. "Lisa's instructions end here." A soft sound came from the right passage. Both men froze. A figure emerged from the shadows, tall, slender, with silvery skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Ambassador Miller," the being said, its voice melodic and strange. "I am Vex. If you wish to save your species, you will need to follow me." Miller hesitated, but they had no other options. "Lead the way." In the council chamber, Chairperson Zaranine called for order. "We will now hear additional evidence before proceeding to preliminary voting procedures." Krell smiled. The plan was working perfectly. Soon, humanity would be marked for elimination, and the Varaxians would be free to proceed with their true agenda. Miller studied the strange being called Vex. He had met representatives from most spacefaring species during his 5 years as Earth's ambassador, but Vex belonged to no race he recognized. The silvery skin seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. "Why should we trust you?" Jack asked, one hand moving toward the small emergency weapon hidden in his boot. Vex's featureless face revealed no expression. "Because unlike the Varaxians, I have no reason to lie. My people have watched yours for centuries. You are interesting. Interesting enough to save?" Miller asked. "That remains to be seen," Vex replied, then turned and moved down the passage with surprising speed. Miller and Jack exchanged glances, then followed. In the council chamber, a new voice rose above the murmurs. Ambassador Kate Brown of the Andromedan Federation stood at her platform. The Andromedans rarely involve themselves in galactic politics, preferring scientific research to diplomatic entanglements. "Honored representatives," Kate said, her translator conveying her measured tone, "I request a full investigation before any vote occurs. The evidence presented suggests cause for concern, but elimination is irreversible." Krell's spines flattened against his head in irritation. "The threat is immediate. We have protocol for emergency measures." "Protocol also demands fair representation," Kate countered. "Earth's ambassador is not present, yet this vote directly affects humanity's existence." Chairperson Zaranine nodded slowly. "Ambassador Brown raises a valid point. Perhaps we should delay." "No delays," Krell interrupted. "Each moment increases the danger. The quantum displacement research continues even as we debate." Lisa Gardner slipped through a side entrance of the embassy's communication center. Greg looked up from his console. "Any luck contacting the ambassador?" Lisa asked. Greg shook his head. "The maintenance tunnels block our signals, but I've been monitoring council communications. Something strange is happening." "What do you mean?" Greg pointed to his screen. "Several species who normally support Earth in votes are being prevented from speaking. Their communication channels are experiencing technical difficulties, just like our shuttle." Lisa leaned closer. "The Arcturians, the Delphine Collective, the Tausetians, all our strongest allies. And look at this," Greg continued, switching screens. "I intercepted a private transmission between Krell and someone on the Varaxian homeworld. It was heavily encrypted, but I caught fragments." The screen showed broken lines of text. QUANTUM, discovery, threat to operations, human ingenuity, danger. Lisa's eyes widened. "They're afraid of us. But why?" Deep in the maintenance tunnels, Vex led Miller and Jack through passages that weren't on the station maps. They moved upward, occasionally crossing paths that would have led them in circles. "Your species faces elimination because you are unpredictable," Vex said as they climbed. "Many council races fear what they cannot control." "And you don't?" Miller asked. "My people find unpredictability refreshing." Vex paused at a junction. "The Varaxians particularly fear your kind. You solve problems in ways they cannot anticipate." Jack huffed as he squeezed through a narrow opening. "Is that why they want us gone? Because we think differently?" "Partly," Vex answered. "But there is more. The Varaxians hide secrets they fear you will uncover." In the council chamber, Ambassador Trock of the Saurians continued to question the proceedings. The massive reptilian stood firmly, his scaled tail twitching with agitation. "The Saurian collective has traded with humans for 20 Earth years." Trock grumbled. "They have shown themselves to be fair partners and creative problem solvers. Their medical advances helped cure the scale rot plague on our colony worlds when no one else offered aid." Krell hissed. "Isolated examples of cooperation do not outweigh the threat." "What specific threat?" demanded Trock. "You show us human technology and claim danger, yet provide no evidence of harmful intent." "Intent is irrelevant when capability exists," Krell responded. From her position near the chamber's communication hub, Lisa watched the debate intensify. She needed to buy more time for Miller to arrive. She quickly typed a message to Greg. Find everything you can on Voraxian activities near Earth space. There's something they don't want us to know. Back on Earth, in the main intelligence hub of the North American Union, data analyst Paul Wright stared at his screens with growing concern. The emergency alert from Concordia had triggered automatic monitoring protocols. For the past hour, he had been digging through Voraxian communication channels. Director Harris, Paul called, not taking his eyes off the screen. I found something. Director Samantha Harris walked over, coffee cup in hand. Tell me. The Voraxians have been mining operations in the Rigel sector, Paul said, pointing to a star map. That's a protected zone under council law. No resource extraction allowed. Harris frowned. How long? At least 3 years. And there's more. Paul switched screens. They'd been using new cloaking technology to hide their ships. Our deep space probes almost missed them. But the quantum sensor array we deployed last month picked up trace signatures. Harris set down her cup. The same quantum technology they're accusing us of weaponizing. Exactly. We've been using it for detection, not weapons. But our sensors might expose their illegal mining. Paul looked up at Harris. They don't want us eliminated because we're dangerous. They want us gone because we might catch them breaking galactic law. On Concordia, Vex led Miller and Jack through a narrow passage that opened into a small chamber filled with humming machinery. What is this place? Jack asked, looking at the strange devices. A monitoring station, Vex replied. My people built them throughout Concordia when it was constructed. The council does not know they exist. Miller examined the curved walls covered in flowing symbols. Your people helped build Concordia. Who are you really? Vex's silvery skin rippled. We are the observers. Most believe us to be myths, stories told to children. We have watched the rise and fall of civilizations for millions of years. And now you watch us, Miller said. Humans are unique. Vex moved to a control panel. Most species develop in predictable patterns. Yours does not. You create art alongside weapons. You fight wars yet risk your lives to save enemies. You are chaotic, yet that chaos produces remarkable innovations. Is that why you're helping us? Jack asked. I help because the Voraxians have violated the balance. They seek to eliminate a species not for the safety of the galaxy, but to protect their own interests. Vex pressed several symbols on the panel. A doorway appeared in the wall. This will take you directly behind the Earth delegation's platform in the council chamber. You have 19 minutes before the preliminary vote begins. In the council chamber, Ambassador Kate Brown had gained the floor again. Fellow representatives, she said, I have received disturbing information from my government. Our long-range sensors have detected unusual activity in the Rigel protected zone. Activity that matches Voraxian energy signatures. Krell's spine stood straight up in alarm. These accusations are baseless, a distraction from the real issue. Chairperson Zaranine raised all 4 hands for silence. Ambassador Brown, do you have evidence to support this claim? My government is transmitting data now, Kate replied. But I find it interesting that Ambassador Krell is so quick to dismiss the possibility. Lisa Gardner received a message on her data pad from Greg. She read it quickly, then smiled. Earth's intelligence services had connected the dots. She had to find a way to get this information to the council. In the Embassy Communications Center, Greg suddenly straightened in his chair. Lisa, I've got a signal from the ambassador. They're close to the council chamber. Lisa felt relief wash over her. Tell him to hurry. And send him everything we've learned about the Voraxian mining operations. Krell paced the central podium, his calm demeanor replaced by growing agitation. We waste time on irrelevant matters. The human threat requires immediate action. What threat exactly? Came a voice from the Earth delegation's platform. All heads turned to see Ambassador John Miller standing there, straightening his formal diplomatic attire. I believe I deserve to hear what crimes my species is accused of. The council erupted in surprised murmurs. Krell's spines flattened against his head. Zara 9 brought the chamber to order. Ambassador Miller, Zara 9 said, "We are pleased you could join us after all." Ambassador Miller stood tall as he faced the council. His journey through Concordia's maintenance tunnels had left dirt smudges on his uniform, but his voice was strong and clear. Chairperson Zara 9, honored representatives, I apologize for my tardiness. My shuttle experienced unexpected technical problems. Miller looked directly at Krell. Very unexpected. Krell waved a dismissive hand. Now that the human representative has arrived, we can proceed with the vote. Without allowing me to speak in defense of my species, Miller asked. That violates Council Law, Section 27, Paragraph 3. All species facing sanction must be granted opportunity for defense. Murmurs of agreement spread through the chamber. Zara 9 nodded slowly. Ambassador Miller is correct. Council law is clear on this matter. She turned to Miller. You have 1 hour to present your defense. Krell hissed in frustration but could not object without appearing to disrespect council procedures. Miller activated the platform's controls, and the holographic display in the chamber center changed. The images of Earth's wars disappeared, replaced by scenes of cooperation, humans working alongside alien species on various worlds. The Varaxian ambassador has shown you one side of humanity, Miller began. Let me show you another. The display shifted to show a medical facility on a Saurian colony world. A human woman in a lab coat worked with reptilian medical staff. This is Dr. Susan Martinez, Miller explained. 3 years ago, the Saurian colony on Epsilon Eridani faced extinction from a new strain of scale rot disease. Dr. Martinez developed a treatment that saved over 2 million Saurian lives. Ambassador Trock nodded in confirmation. The Saurian collective remembers this debt. The hologram changed again, showing a devastated planet surface being restored by teams using specialized equipment. Engineer Ryan Cooper, Miller continued. His environmental restoration techniques have been implemented on 12 worlds damaged by natural disasters or industrial accidents, including, I might add, 3 Varaxian mining colonies. In the Embassy Communications Center, Lisa and Greg worked frantically to send Miller all the information they had gathered. Lisa's datapad chimed with an incoming message from Earth Intelligence. Greg, look at this, she said, showing him the screen. The quantum displacement technology that has Krell so worried. It's not a weapon at all. Greg read the report. A clean energy system. That's what they're afraid of. Not just energy, Lisa replied. According to this, it can detect ships using cloaking technology. Ships like those the Varaxians are using for illegal mining. In the council chamber, Miller continued his defense. Yes, humans advance quickly. Yes, we have a history of conflict. We don't deny our flaws. Miller's voice grew passionate. But our greatest strength is learning from our mistakes, our diversity of thought, our individuality. These aren't weaknesses. They're the source of our creativity and innovation. The display showed images of Earth art, music performances with mixed human and alien musicians, scientific conferences with diverse species collaborating. The Varaxians claim our unpredictability makes us dangerous. I say it makes us valuable to the galactic community. We solve problems differently because we think differently. Miller received a message on his personal device. He quickly read the information from Lisa and Earth Intelligence, then looked up with renewed confidence. Honored representatives, I must address the specific concern about Earth's quantum displacement research. Ambassador Krell presented it as a potential weapon technology. Miller adjusted the controls, and the display showed a complex energy system. This is the complete quantum displacement project. It's not a weapon. It's an energy generation system that could provide clean power to worlds throughout the galaxy. A side effect of the technology is that it can detect vessels using certain types of cloaking fields. Krell moved forward. This is precisely the danger. Such technology could disrupt delicate operations. What operations, Ambassador Krell? Miller interrupted. Peaceful operations have nothing to fear from detection. The chamber grew quiet as the implications became clear. Ambassador Kate Brown spoke into the silence. Perhaps Ambassador Krell could explain why the Varaxian Empire is so concerned about detection technology, particularly in the Rigel-protected sector. All eyes turned to Krell, whose spines now lay flat against his head in what those familiar with Varaxian physiology recognized as a sign of extreme stress. Behind Miller, a side door opened, and Lisa Gardner slipped onto the Earth platform, carrying a datapad with crucial evidence. Ambassador Krell's composure broke. His skin changed from gray to a mottled purple, a sign of extreme agitation in Varaxians. These accusations are outrageous. The Varaxian Empire does not answer to human spies. Krell turned to the other council members. Can you not see their tactics? They distract us from their threat with baseless claims. Chairperson Zara-9 raised her 4 hands for silence. Ambassador Miller, do you have evidence to support these implications? Miller nodded to Lisa, who stepped forward and connected her data pad to the council's display system. The holographic images changed to show star maps of the Rigel sector. Several points glowed red, marking mining operations. These images come directly from Earth's deep space monitoring network, Lisa explained. They show Varaxian mining ships in the Rigel protected zone, a clear violation of Council Treaty 455, which prohibits resource extraction from designated conservation areas. The chamber erupted with shocked voices. Several ambassadors stood to get a better view of the evidence. Suddenly, the chamber lights flickered. The holographic display vanished. Emergency backup systems activated, bathing everyone in dim blue light. Technical malfunction, announced the station's automated voice. Primary systems offline. Attempting restart. Jack Peters, who had been waiting near the Earth platform, caught Miller's eye. Not an accident, he mouthed, pointing to a service door. Miller understood immediately. Krell is trying to shut down the session before we can present all our evidence. Lisa quickly typed commands into her datapad, trying to restore the connection. They've locked out the main systems, but the embassy backup might work. On the central podium, Zara-9 consulted with technical staff. Representatives, please remain calm. This appears to be a station-wide failure. We may need to adjourn until systems can be restored. Krell moved toward the exit. A wise decision, Chairperson. Security protocols dictate. No, came a melodic voice from the back of the chamber. A tall, silvery figure stepped into view. This is not a technical failure. It is sabotage. The chamber fell silent as Vex walked toward the center. Most of the council members had never seen an observer before, though all had heard the legends. What is that? Whispered one ambassador to another. An observer, came the odd reply. I thought they were myths. Vex reached the center of the chamber and touched a hidden panel in the floor. The lights instantly returned to normal, and the holographic display reappeared, still showing the Varaxian mining operations. For thousands of years, I and my kind have watched this council, Vex said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. We rarely intervene. Today we must. Vex gestured, and new images appeared in the display. Historical records of previous council votes for species elimination. 3 times before, this council has voted to eliminate a species deemed too dangerous or unpredictable. The Zentari, the Quorum, the Belvian, all erased from the galaxy. Vex looked around the chamber. All contributed unique perspectives and solutions that were lost forever. The council members shifted uncomfortably as Vex continued. Before their elimination, the Zentari had begun developing technology to restore dead worlds. The Quorum had unique insights into dimensional physics that no other species has rediscovered. The Belvians had art forms that moved even my ancient kind to what you would call emotion. Vex turned to face Krell. The pattern repeats. A species that thinks differently, that solves problems in unexpected ways, is labeled a threat by those who fear change or exposure. Lisa's datapad chimed. She looked down and smiled triumphantly. "Ambassador, I have control of the embassy systems. We can show everything now." Miller nodded. "Do it." The holographic display expanded, showing detailed scans of the Varaxian mining operations. Data scrolled beside the images: resource quantities, ship identifications, dates of operation. The evidence was overwhelming. "Fellow representatives," Miller said, addressing the stunned council, "Earth does not ask you to punish the Varaxian Empire. We ask only that you judge us on the truth, not on fear. Humanity may be unpredictable, but we are not a threat to galactic peace." In the back of the chamber, several Varaxian security officers moved toward the exits, hands on their weapons. The turning point had arrived. Chairperson Zara 9 noticed the Varaxian security officers moving toward the exits. She pressed a hidden button on her podium. Silent alarms triggered throughout the chamber, and Concordia's own security forces appeared at each doorway, blocking the Varaxians' escape. "Ambassador Krell," Zara 9 said, her voice firm, "attempting to disrupt council proceedings is a serious offense. So is unauthorized mining in protected zones." Krell's spines flattened completely, a sign of submission in Varaxian body language. "Chairperson, there has been a misunderstanding. These operations were scientific research missions only." "The scans show mining equipment," Lisa pointed out, "and regular cargo shipments back to Varaxian space." More council members stood now, their voices rising in anger and concern. The Rigel sector contains some of the galaxy's most pristine worlds and rare resources. The protection treaty had been signed by all council members, including the Varaxian Empire. Ambassador Miller raised his hands for attention. "Representatives, our purpose today is not to judge the Varaxian Empire, but to determine humanity's place in the galactic community." Vex nodded in agreement. "The human speaks wisely. Let us return to the matter at hand." Zara 9 gestured for silence. "Ambassador Miller is correct. The accusations against the Varaxian Empire will be addressed in a separate session." She looked at Krell. "And they will be addressed, Ambassador Krell." Krell retreated to his platform, defeated but still dangerous. Miller stepped forward again. "Fellow representatives, you have seen evidence of humanity's contributions to the galaxy. You have also seen why some might fear our unpredictability. I propose a compromise." The chamber grew quiet, waiting for his suggestion. "Humanity accepts that our rapid advancement causes concern. We propose a probationary period of 5 standard years. During this time, human ships will carry council observers. Our research facilities will welcome council inspection teams. We will demonstrate that we are valuable allies, not threats." Murmurs spread through the chamber as representatives discussed this proposal. Ambassador Kate Brown stepped forward to support Miller. "The Andromedan Federation endorses this proposal. We have worked with humans for 20 years without incident. They learn quickly and adapt well to new situations." Ambassador Trock of the Saurians joined her. The Saurian Collective also supports this compromise. Humans have proven themselves honorable trading partners and valuable medical researchers. More ambassadors began to voice their opinions. Some supported the compromise, while others remained wary of human unpredictability. The debate grew heated. Zara 9 called for order. "It appears we must proceed to a vote. The motion before the Council is as follows. Should humanity be designated for elimination as a threat to galactic peace, or accepted on probationary status as proposed by Ambassador Miller?" The voting system activated. Each representative's platform lit up with the choices. The chamber grew silent as decisions were made. Miller stood tall, but Lissa could see the tension in his shoulders. The fate of Earth and all human colonies rested on this vote. Jack moved closer to Miller and whispered, "No matter what happens, humanity won't go quietly." Miller shook his head slightly. "If we lose this vote, we follow council law. We are not above the rules we agreed to when joining the galactic community." On her platform, Zara 9 watched the voting tally with all 4 of her eyes. The numbers were extremely close. Finally, The system chimed, indicating all votes had been cast. The results appeared on the main display for all to see. Elimination, 97 votes. Probation, 103 votes. A wave of relief washed over Miller. Earth had survived. Barely. Zera-9 announced formally, by vote of the Galactic Council, humanity is granted probationary status under the terms proposed by Ambassador Miller. Council observers will be assigned to Earth and all human colonies within 10 standard days. Krell stood, his body rigid with anger. The Voraxian Empire protests this decision. We withdraw from the Council until this mistake is corrected. He stormed toward the exit, followed by his delegation. Miller turned to Lisa and Jack. We won the vote, but we've made a powerful enemy today. Vex approached the Earth delegation. The real challenge begins now, Ambassador Miller. Prove that humanity deserves its place among the stars. 3 months passed quickly. On Earth, news of the close vote had created both concern and a new sense of purpose. Humanity now understood its precarious position in the galactic community. Ambassador Miller stood at the window of his office on Concordia, looking out at the stars. The station orbited a neutral point between 3 major galactic territories, symbolizing the unity of spacefaring civilizations. Today, that unity would be tested again. There was a knock at his door. Lisa Gardner entered, now wearing the uniform of a full diplomatic officer. Her promotion had come quickly after the dramatic council session. The first progress review begins in 30 minutes, Ambassador, she said, handing him a datapad. All reports from the observation teams have been compiled. Miller nodded as he scrolled through the information. How do we look? Better than expected, Lisa replied. The council observers assigned to Earth and our colonies have been mostly positive in their assessments. Dr. Martinez's new medical research team has representatives from 12 species working together. That's been particularly well received. Miller smiled. And Engineer Cooper's environmental project. His team has already begun restoration work on the damaged Andromedan world. The local population is very grateful. Lisa hesitated. There is one concern. The Voraxians have been unusually quiet since they walked out of the council. Not entirely quiet, Miller said, pointing to another report on the datapad. They've withdrawn their mining operations from the Rigel sector, but our intelligence suggests they've simply moved them to another protected area in the Deneb system. Lisa frowned. Should we bring this up at today's session? Not yet. Let's focus on proving humanity's value first. The Voraxians will face their own judgment soon enough. They walked together to the council chamber. Unlike the emergency session 3 months earlier, today's meeting was smaller, just the review committee consisting of 7 representatives, including Chairperson Zera-9. As Miller and Lisa entered, they were surprised to see Vex already there, speaking quietly with Zera-9. The observer had not been seen since the emergency vote. Zera-9 called the meeting to order. This review session will assess humanity's progress under probationary status. Ambassador Miller, please present your report. Miller stood and activated the central display. Images appeared showing human scientists working alongside alien colleagues, environmental restoration projects, and cultural exchange programs. In the 3 months since the Council's decision, humanity has worked to demonstrate our commitment to galactic cooperation, Miller began. The quantum displacement technology that caused such concern has been shared with the Council's Science Division. As promised, it is being developed as an energy source, not a weapon. The committee members nodded approvingly as Miller continued his presentation. When he finished, Ambassador Kate Brown spoke first. The Andromedan Federation is satisfied with humanity's progress. The restoration work on our outer colony exceeds expectations. Other committee members offered similar positive assessments. Even those who had voted for elimination acknowledged the genuine efforts humans had made. As the session concluded, Vex approached Miller and Lisa. You have made an impressive start, Ambassador, the observer said. But the true test lies ahead. "What do you mean?" Miller asked. "The Varaxians have not abandoned their goals. They have merely changed tactics." Vex's silvery skin rippled. "My people have observed a pattern throughout history. Species that fear change often resort to indirect methods when direct confrontation fails. You think they'll try to undermine us another way?" Lisa said. Vex nodded. "The Varaxians have already begun spreading rumors about human aggression on frontier worlds. They seek to turn neutral species against you." Miller sighed. "So our real challenge isn't just proving our worth, but countering their propaganda." "Precisely," Vex said. "The observers chose to fade into legend rather than fight such battles. Your species faces a different path." "Why did you help us?" Lisa asked suddenly, "after staying hidden for so long?" "Because in all our millennia of watching, humans represent something rare, genuine unpredictability. Your chaotic nature produces both great danger and great possibilities." Vex looked between them. "My people wish to see which path you ultimately choose." As they left the chamber, Miller noticed a message on his datapad. A new emergency session had been called, this time to address Varaxian violations of protected zones. "It seems," Miller said with a slight smile, "that humanity isn't the only species on trial now."